Hi, I'm Ava Goulet, and I'm the founder of Dancing Jaguar Inspirations. Our company produces metaphysical programs and products that are available for people of all ages, from children all the way through senior citizens. And today I'm here with you because I'd like to talk to you about our inner voices that we listen to all the time. We've probably been listening to them for our whole lives, but many people don't realize that those voices that we hear or the statements that we hear are not who we are. And so much of that inner dialogue that we listen to impacts our ability to really show up in the world with confidence. Our self-esteem is directly related to how we talk to ourselves and how we think about ourselves. So every time we experience negative self-talk, it undermines our self-confidence and it stops us from reaching our full potential. So if you have an inner critic that's constantly undermining your progress, no matter how hard you work on the outside, the results won't change until you learn how to change and manage that inner self-talk from the inside. So the inner critic is a really powerful influencer of our lives. And it can be really sneaky. Like, it can kind of lay dormant maybe for a little while, and it will creep up just when you're about to make a shift or a change or a leap of faith to do something that you've always wanted to do, or like when you're just starting to feel really brave or courageous and you're ready to step outside of your comfort zone. That's when you may experience your inner self-talk really getting loud. And it can stop you in your tracks. It can actually keep you from being and doing all that you desire for yourself in your life. It's often a voice and spoken phrases that are very familiar. You've probably been listening to them your entire life. So I'll give you some examples of what an inner critic's voice might sound like, or what their statements might sound like. You can't do that. You're not smart enough. No one is going to listen to you. Who do you think you are? No one will ever love you. You're unlovable. That inner critic voice can really impact your self-confidence, your self-esteem, your self-image. It even impacts the way you carry yourself into the world. So imagine that you're somebody who has listened to a really negative inner critic for years. And that's like somebody who just beats you up all the time. So you can imagine that you would be carrying yourself more like this, like not wanting to take up so much space, not wanting to bring attention to yourself, kind of folding yourself in a little bit, shrinking. And it can really impact the way the rest of the world sees you and looks at you. So here, I'm going to give you some more examples of how the inner critic can just like stop you in your tracks. When you're ready to make some kind of a change in your life or step out of your comfort zone, you may start to feel that you're not equipped to do that, or you're not capable of doing it. You may think that you're not enough. Maybe you're not smart enough, you're not thin enough, you're not brave enough, you're not whatever the enough is. Or you won't be able to do what it is you really want to do. You think others will laugh at you, or you think others will think poorly of you. You procrastinate or just dawdle. You just never start. You feel overwhelmed or jittery or anxious just thinking about doing what you want to do. You feel as if you're being held back by some invisible force. Imagine yourself wanting to really step forward and take this leap of faith, but you feel like there's like these invisible hands just on your shoulders, just kind of holding you back and just whispering in your ear, no, you can't do that. No, nobody will listen to you. So I want you to think about your relationship with your best friend for a moment. Would your best friend ever talk to you in the way that that inner critic does? Would you still be friends with someone if they spoke to you like that? Probably not. Well, I want to share with you through this video and through the free gift that is attached to this video that you can learn how to manage that inner critic's voice so it becomes softer and less noticeable, and it will have much less power over how you feel about yourself. I'd like to share a little bit about my story with my inner critic and how I discovered it was impacting my life. I wasn't aware of this concept of an inner critic until I was about 30. And I was in therapy at the time. And when I started discovering the inner voices that I listened to all the time, and I was led to really pay attention to that inner critic's voice, I discovered a really mean, hurtful, vicious inner voice that was merciless. I could not do anything right according to that inner voice. I was stupid. I needed to be seen and not heard. I needed to just be small and not take up space in the world. I wasn't going to be smart enough to ever fulfill the dreams that I had for myself. It was just really sad when I started making a list of all of the things that I heard my inner critic say to me day after day after day for my entire life. And then I realized that I have an opportunity to change that and to change the way I feel about myself, because I felt worthless. I felt stupid. I felt unlovable. I felt stupid. I just didn't feel worthy or that I deserved to even be alive. I mean, it was a really it was a really difficult thing for me to acknowledge that this inner dialogue of mine, this inner voice, was so incredibly mean. So I started being very conscious about my thoughts from that point on. And every time I was aware of a negative thought, I would kind of shove that aside and pull in a positive thought, an affirmation that would counter that. So if I, for instance, heard a negative self dialogue or talk saying, or a negative statement saying, you're unlovable, I would let that go and bring in an affirmation that just simply stated, I am loved or I am lovable. So I did a lot of work really being conscious about my thoughts. And after about a year, I remember this so vividly. I was driving down the highway one day, and all of a sudden I heard in my inner voice, I love you, totally unconscious, just coming from that inner place. I love you. And I realized in that moment that that year I spent really being conscious of my thoughts and learning how to manage my inner thought process. So my thoughts were becoming less critical and more loving. That was the proof right there in that moment for me when unconsciously I heard, I love you. So I wanted to share that story with people and then also share a meditation that I created that I think is a beautiful way to help other people find their inner critic. And we also go a little bit further with this exercise, and we also learn to meet our inner champion and learn how to work with our inner champion's voice as well. So a few years ago, I started working with children in a program called Dancing Jaguar Spirit Camp. And it was really important for me to start teaching children about their inner critic, because I feel like my life would have been very different had someone taught me about that inner critic when I was younger. And I feel like it's so important to do this work with children so that as children grow up into teens, they have tools to be able to manage the inner voices that they're listening to, so that they understand when they're already dealing with so much stuff on their plates as teenagers, they understand that the thoughts that they're hearing are not who they are. So if we can work with children at a young age to give them these tools, so as they're growing up, they understand how to manage their thoughts so that they can be more compassionate towards themselves, more loving, kinder, then I think we're going to have a world full of kinder and more compassionate adults. So I do this work now with children, with teens, and with adults. So I think it's really important that when we're learning how to manage that inner dialogue, that we also bring in that inner champion. And some of us, have a really quiet inner champion because we're not used to having that inner dialogue say, "You got this, you go girl," or "You got this buddy," or "You're a champ." And part of the exercise and the free gift that you'll be receiving is a guided meditation that will introduce you to your inner champion as well. And I encourage people to um, talk about what they experienced after these meditations. Draw a picture of your inner critic and your inner champion, and write down the things that you hear in those inner voices that each of them say to you, so you can start taking your power back from your inner critic. The more you talk about it and acknowledge it and learn how to manage it, it becomes disempowered and you become more empowered. And you are able to, I like to tell my students to think of those inner voices, that the inner self-talk, as different radio stations. And you can turn down the radio station that your inner critic is appearing on, and you can turn up the volume of the radio station that your inner champion is on. And you can really learn how to do this very easily. It just takes conscious awareness of your inner thoughts as you're going throughout your day. And it may take a while for you to really start developing that rhythm and that feel of just catching it quicker and quicker when you start beating yourself up over something, a mistake that you made, or gosh, one of the things that I think is so important to share with children and teens, especially, is that everyone makes mistakes. We're all human. And if you made a mistake, what would you want your best friend to say to you? I mean, perhaps it would be something like, "Oh, I'm sorry that you experienced that, but everybody makes mistakes. It's okay. It's going to be okay. It may be something like, it didn't turn out the way you wanted this time, and that's okay. It will next time. You just need to hear something positive, somebody just reinforcing that you gave it your best shot, and maybe it'll work out better next time. It's okay that it didn't work out this time. And it's really important for us to think of that inner champion as our best friend, our new best friend, who is going to have a louder voice, or the radio station will be turned up louder than the one that our inner critic is appearing on. So I think that when we become conscious of our thoughts, we become empowered to manage them and to change them. And that will change the way we feel about ourselves, our self-confidence, our self-esteem, and we will actually end up going out into the world looking taller, prouder, and more sure of ourselves as we're moving into the world. And we'll be able to start making decisions that used to paralyze us with fear just thinking about them. So this is really important work to help you learn how to step into your full potential. Got to manage that inner critic voice before you can do that. So I invite you to download the free gift so you can experience the benefit of this guided meditation, and so you can discover your inner critic and your inner champion. And when you name it, picture it, write about it, draw it, and talk about it, you disempower it. You are taking your power back, and you are stepping into your full potential. So if you would like to know more about this particular workshop, or if you'd like to know about any of the spirit camps we offer for children, for teens, or adults, and we also offer teacher training programs in each of those courses as well, so that you can become someone who teaches these metaphysical programs to people in your community, reach out to me at dancingjaguarinspirations.com. Thank you for being here today, and good luck with your inner critic and your inner champion. Bye for now.